do poorly on and whites tend to do really well on, let's talk about who writes them. If you read the passage behind me, you'll see that they test all of these tests before they actually give them. And what they do is they put a bunch of kids into a classroom. And they give them a practice test, a pilot test it's called. And if the Latinos do really well on this question and the white kids don't, what happens to the question?
They eliminate it.
We get rid of it because there must be some kind of cultural bias that's favoring the Latino kids. And if the white kids do really well and the Latinos don't, what do we do with the test question? We keep it because that's following the correct question distribution that we're used to. Do you get what I'm saying? If the questions are answered correctly by the Latinos, we take them out. Does that seem fair to you?
No.
The whole test is gimmicked against Latinos. And so as a result, in poor schools across the nation, we spend a lot of time doing test preparation. About 4 years ago, my wife, at the time she wasn't my wife, but about 4 years ago, I think it was about 4 years ago, my wife and I, they came to us and they said, look, we got to get these kids to pass the exit exam, and we haven't had any success yet. Since you're the English department chair and the math department chair, we'd like you to do this after-school class with these exit exam kids. We said, sure. Like, is there money? Can we get like paper and materials and stuff? Oh yeah, we got money. We got about $80,000 for this. We had 14 kids. It was great. We went on a conference together. We ordered all kinds of materials. We got computers. It was all kinds of stuff. But it was a lot of money invested in test preparation to get kids to pass a stupid test, rather than spending $80,000 on, say, you guys, who are actually going to go to college and change the numbers that we looked at earlier. All right? So we eventually realized that this isn't quite working. This isn't preparing us for where the United States needs to go. We came up with this thing called Common Core. And if you start doing research on education now, you're going to see a lot about Common Core. This is much different. This is a lot of writing. It's reading much more complicated text. And I can say this to you guys and you'll understand it. It's a lighter version of this class. And it's applied all throughout school. You're almost the last generation, the last year, to get the No Child Left Behind CSTs. You know what I mean when I say that? Okay. Next year will be the last. And then the following year, it'll all be Common Core. And kids, instead of taking multiple choice questions, like Alex pointed out, they'll have to write their answers in an argument with counter arguments to defend their position. And that's kind of where we're headed. Okay? Now, here's the thing that I want you to see. And this I haven't even told the faculty this. You know my afternoon job is all about this, right? This is what I do in the afternoon. I do work with Common Core. I think Common Core is a better assessment. I think it's closer to what we do in here, and I think it's going to push instruction in the right place. But here's what I want you to see. If you take a kid that starting in kindergarten was raised in a No Child Left Behind world, and every year they're tested on multiple choice stuff and taught test-taking strategies and really short, simplistic passages to answer multiple choice questions on. And then, when they're a freshman in high school, you give them one of these tests. What's going to happen to their score? So the first year of Common Core, what's going to happen across the nation to schools across the country? And those are all going to be failing schools. You see? Mm-hmm. Like we're kind of setting ourselves up to really get hammered. Because we're still under the No Child Left Behind legislation, which is going to take federal dollars away from schools that fail. That's the end of my, that's it. That's where we are. I don't have anything more to say. That's everything. What questions do you have? Yeah?
How do you think college admissions would affect students under the Common Core rather than what we're in now?
That's a great question. No one's ever asked that before. I think the Common Core is going to help kids get into college. Well, no, back up. Common Core is going to help kids succeed once they get into college. And I think you'll see a greater number of students be able to transfer from the community college to the university because they'll have the skills necessary. You need to know that the universities don't care about your test scores. In fact, they think it's BS just like we teachers do. So that's a great question. In that case, Common Core is something good for the future. What else? Yeah?
Is the No Child Left Behind
is it not invalidated right now because the people in the government thinks that it's the right thing to do, or is it not possible to be invalidated?
It is possible to be invalidated. In other words, can we get rid of the law? The hard thing, though, is if you're a politician, you got to get elected. And if you go to the public and you say, hey, I'm going to remove No Child Left Behind, I'm going to remove the standards of accountability for the high schools, people think, oh, you just want to make it easy for the high school. And so, politically, it's a hard thing to get rid of. It's one of the reasons why I hate George W. Bush so much. I think he really did do a lot of damage to education. So even, here we are, second term with Barack Obama, the guy's got nothing to lose. It'll be interesting to see if we can get rid of this thing. Good question. Other questions? Yeah?
When do you think we'll start seeing the benefits?
That's a good question, too. When do you think we'll start seeing the benefits? I'll tell you my answer first, but I want to hear.
It's difficult because, like you said, we've all been raised on the standard of No Child Left Behind, and I'm thinking we're not going to be seeing the benefits for years and years until like the kids who are the younger generations finally getting used to being that standard.
And that's my view, too. I think that you're probably going to have to wait about a decade before you really start seeing the advantages. You've got to be trained in how to think. To be honest with you, kids, a couple years ago, Ms. Mundy and I got really interested in the kids that are failing at Magnolia High School. And we started having these like groups, not group sessions, but like group interviews with them. And the kids were really nice. We'd ask them, like, when did you start failing like 100% of your classes? We took kids that are failing everything, like, but they're still coming to school. Like what's going on there? And they universally said 5th grade. In 5th grade, they shut down. They were just tired of the BS and they quit doing anything. So they had 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, failing everything. 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th, so 7 years, right? They're just failing everything. I think there's kids in 5th grade right now that have shut down, and they're going to have to get out of the system. We're going to have to get them out of education before we can start really seeing if this works. And in the meantime, you have this big generation that's not ready to think with complexity. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. If you feel kind of depressed right now, I want you to not feel depressed. I've used this, people in Puente have heard me say this a lot of times. When you have one star in a dark sky, what does it look like?
It looks more brilliant.
So much brighter. When you have one star against a big constellation, you don't even notice it. What I'm saying is you're the bright star. And the constellation that you're in is pretty dark. And that just makes you shine brighter, like a diamond. I think it's funny that half of you saw it coming before you even got there. But it is true. I mean, you guys are poised, right? If you're in this class right now and you think you want to be a scientist or an engineer, an architecture, something, an architect, something like that, you are so poised for success because you'll be somebody from the United States with a major in science, and there's not much competition. So you should walk out the door today kind of feeling good about yourself, but a little sad about the country. Notes go in the box.
Oh.